We haven't done this in a while. A claim study, because this claim took so long to finally close and settle. I've been waiting to do a claim study on this, and it's going to be on one of our largest claims that we ever had, and it was actually a flood claim. And I'm going to teach you everything that I learned on that claim right now in 3, 2, 1. What's up, advocates? Welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Claims Show. I am your host, Vince Perry, owner and CEO of Elite Resolutions and your commercial claims advocate. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm going to get right to the point. Listen up, advocates. Whether you're a public adjuster, contractor, or an attorney, if you have a client that has suffered any kind of catastrophic loss, whether that be by fire or storm or just any catastrophic loss that requires your client to have to move out and incur ALE and loss of use coverage, you need to think about looking at Black Diamond Services. This is an incredible idea for a service that I think is extremely valuable, and I've actually personally used for my clients myself. Basically, what they do is they provide all of the necessary money that is needed to be done for the homeowner to go and move to another place, whether that be a hotel or another home or whatever it is. They basically bill through their insurance policy's loss of use coverage, and basically they provide financial assistance so that the insured never has to incur any out-of-pocket expenses. It's an amazing service. I love the people at Black Diamond Services, especially Millie Varela. If you just contact her and contact Black Diamond Services, I'm telling you, they're going to take care of your clients like you wouldn't believe. I personally have a client who suffered a fire damage and had to use their ALE coverage, and all we did was refer them to Black Diamond. Our clients did not have to come out of pocket a single penny. Black Diamond provided all of the financial money, and they provided the actual location for the homeowner to stay. Amazing service. Contact Black Diamond Services today so you could find out more information for yourself. This is a claim study. We've done a few of these claim studies before, and I've basically taken you from the life and the story of an insurance claim. And that's all I'm going to do now. We'll show some photos and some different things and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's just me just taking you through the life of an insurance claim that I have actually worked on, that I actually worked the entire claim from A to Z. So this was an actual flood claim. It was a flood claim at an association, and what occurred was, it was in Miami, Florida. A ton of rain came down, and all of the entire parking lot and everything just flooded. This area of Miami in particular tends to flood a lot, and all of this just all flooded to the point where I think it was probably outside. It was several feet of water, and every time a car would drive through the parking lot, it would send like a tidal wave into all of these units. They were townhomes, and basically all of the units end up being inundated with flood, except for one building. But I'm talking about 63 to 65 units where actually they had flood waters inside, anywhere from 4 inches to some places were 8 inches of water inside. Now, when I first got the call for this, I was like, flood, what do we do? Flood gets a little bit more complicated. First thing was, it's an association. So I'm thinking association, only drywall, right? And nothing that's inside is covered. With flood, it's different. With flood coverage on an association, actually all of the interior is covered as well. The only caveat to this was contents was not covered. So that was an issue. Unfortunately, if they had their own flood coverage, they had their own contents, then it would be covered. But because this was the association flood coverage, all of it was covered, but contents was not covered. But I'm talking the paint, the baseboards, the cabinets, the flooring, all this stuff was covered under the association's flood insurance for every single unit that was inside. So it's a little bit different. If you've got a wind claim or you got your normal insurance claim, the association usually just covers everything from the drywall in, right? And then the unit owner covers from the paint, drywall out, paint in, cabinets, and all that stuff is covered by the individual unit owner. Not in this case. The next thing I did was reviewed the policy, because I usually know that flood insurance policies tend to be very low. The limits tend to be low. Well, when I looked at this one, it was very, very high. I'm talking upwards of, like, if I'm not mistaken, it was about $3 or $4 million in coverage. And I was like, wow, that's pretty good. And the reason is, the president of the association told me that just months prior, they actually upgraded their flood insurance to the extended, or to the premium type, to the one that has more policy limit. And what happened was the policy limit actually doubled because of the extra, $25 or so they had to pay more per month to get this extra flood insurance coverage. So thankfully, with this policy in particular, flood, the policy limits was not an issue. We had more than enough to work with. So thank God for that. That actually worked out really, really well. So we went all in. We went over there and I started to inspect the loss. Now this inspection, I mean, besides the fact that I was there all day just for a week or so, I had to come back for other inspections. It was a lot of work. I always tell people, you know, in commercial claims, everybody's like, all I want is commercial claims. All I want is commercial claims, because you do make a lot more money with commercial claims. But let me tell you, you also work a lot harder. Beware of that. I know it's worth it, but still a lot of work. We had to call water mitigation. I had to make sure we called the right water mitigation company that could handle a loss like that. Public adjusters. And if you're a water mitigation company watching this, I'm sorry, but public adjusters, beware, depending on the size of the claim that you have, on what water mitigation company you send out there, because every water mitigation company is going to tell you that they could handle it until they get there and you realize that they cannot handle it. This company in particular, thank God, came highly recommended. It was a friend of a friend who was able to actually handle that. And I mean, he had the machines, he had the equipment, he had the manpower to actually do this. Because basically what he had to do is they had to go in through every single unit one by one and flood cut every single one of these units. It was very impressive that they were even able to do it. They did their moisture mapping first. So they went one unit by one unit by one unit, did all moisture mapping, got infrared, got water moisture meter readings, got all kinds of stuff, and then went cutting. It was quite the feat because you're dealing with homeowners, 63 of them. The way I could compare it is what I told people was that it was like I had 63 claims signed up all at once, because you have all the homeowners looking at me, looking at the president of the association, and everybody else making sure that we're doing the best job possible. All the association, all the homeowners think that you're taking advantage of them somehow. It's like, it's all a big ordeal, but we were able to get through it. They went in there one by one, did their flood cuts, and everything got taken care of pretty nicely. Everything was very, very clean. Some of the issues that arise with a flood that you have to be aware of is if the water mitigation company, say, only removes baseboards and does like a surface dry out, then they're not going to pay for drywall. They're not going to pay for any. They may even pay to just detach and reset that baseboard. But if the flood cut occurs, then it's all going to be taken care of. So make sure if you do have a flood claim that you get those flood cuts done, because if you don't, it's going to be very difficult to even get all that paid. Even if it's wet, flood tends to be a little finicky about it. Remember that flood only pays for what the water touches as well. So if the water's not touching certain things, then they may not want to pay for that either. So I'm going to get into some of those issues. Like the flooring, for example, was a huge issue. But we were able to get all the flood cuts done. Floors were removed that needed to be removed. Tile flooring wasn't removed on a lot of them, but some of them they were. We also had an issue with a wooden staircase that in every single, the framing was wood, and it was all, starting to expand as a result of this. We had issues with the cabinets. They didn't want to pay for some of the cabinets, but they did. Remember, with flood, it's only what the water touches. So they're only going to pay for the lower cabinet, and they're not going to pay for the upper cabinet. They're not going to want to pay for the countertop either, unless it gets broken as a result of replacing the lower cabinet. So it's all kinds of stuff that you have to deal with that you may not normally deal with. But we did the inspection with the flood adjusters. Thankfully, thank you, FEMA. Thank you, guys. Honestly, it was a fantastic experience. That part was a fantastic experience. And then you also remember your letter of representation public adjusters are a little bit different. This is good for you guys to watch now because you're probably dealing with a lot of flood from Hurricane Ian. Your letter of representation does have to have some information on there that normally isn't on your normal letter of representation. So make sure that you have an updated and a unique flood insurance letter of representation. We have one now that's separate completely just for flood. It's basically the same letter of representation with the few little add-ons that FEMA wants on that letter of representation. So make sure that you have a separate one for that. What else? The proof of loss. Proof of loss, you have to submit it within 60 days from the date of loss. Okay. Now with Hurricane Ian, it's 1 year now. They extended that, but this was not a hurricane. This is your normal loss. I had to make sure I had the 63 unit estimate completed within 60 days. I was able to submit it like around day 45 or day 50. We were running out of time, but I was able to submit it. And all those proof of loss need to be signed. All those proof of losses need to be notarized. And we were able to get all that done within the 60 days. Thank God. Remember, when you're submitting a proof of loss, guys, you could always go up. You don't necessarily want to go down because then you're writing stuff up that shouldn't be in there. So get your proof of loss in and submit it within on time. And if they do change, you can change your proof of loss. If you do need to increase the number for whatever reason because things come up, then you could increase it. What's more important is that when you have a proof of loss deadline, submit the freaking thing. Submit that proof of loss as soon as you can so that you don't have to deal with that later, because now you're not abiding by the duties after the loss, which could ultimately kill your claim. So I did my personal inspection. We got water mitigation in there. They did what they had to do, met with the flood adjusters. We did all that. That went fine. Submitted the proof of loss, completed the estimates on all 63 units as one basically giant estimate. The insurance adjuster literally told me that his Xactimate kept crashing because of the size of this estimate. It was just that large. But we already submit everything. First payment was made, and obviously it wasn't where we wanted to be at, but it was pretty good. First payment, I think we were just over 2 million, and the first payment was almost 1.5 million. So we were able to do pretty good, but we still had some things that needed to be taken care of. The fact of the matter is, people had their homes that they needed to be rebuilt, but at least they got some money there. They were able to start that process and get that process going. Ultimately, our goal was going to be to file an appraisal. But the issue with the appraisal when it comes to flood is you have to agree to scope beforehand. So I kept trying to make sure that we agreed on scope. The adjusters then all of a sudden became very, very difficult. The payment was made. They didn't want to agree to the tile flooring on a lot of these units. They didn't want to agree to that staircase that we were talking about. A lot of the lower cabinets they would pay for, but some of the lower cabinets they weren't paying for. So we didn't get a complete agreement on scope. So when we were about to go to appraisal, I backtracked on it and I decided that we weren't going to go to appraisal because I knew in appraisal we weren't going to be able to get the line items that I was actually looking for. So I kept trying. I kept going back and forth with the two adjusters until it finally got nasty. It got really bad. I was actually insulted pretty bad by the flood adjuster. But it's okay. It is what it is. And we ended up having to get litigation. So upon receiving that initial payment that we were hoping would be a little bit more, but it was what it was, we did proceed with litigation. And after about a year of fighting that, we were just able to settle. We were just able to settle for about 1.8 million, and it worked out pretty well. So thankfully that worked out pretty nicely, and we got a nice settlement on it. So everybody seems to be happy about it. The new association that's there seems to be pretty okay. I think I'm pretty happy about it, but it was just really one of those claims that I learned a lot. I learned a lot about flood, I'll tell you that, which has been good because I've been able to teach some of the guys about flood insurance and what's going on with Hurricane Ian. But it was definitely a lot that we had to go through about water touching and about appraisal and about, what they're going to pay for, what they're not going to pay for, how finicky flood insurance can be. Flood insurance, most people don't even want to deal with it. Most people don't want to deal with anything with flood insurance. I still say, why not? Go for it. I mean, I'm a just say yes guy. I'm a yes man. But yeah, go for it. It's still a claim that you're still going to get paid on. And as a public adjuster, you still have to provide your service of representing that client. And if you can get along with the flood adjuster as much as you can, which the flood adjusters, the one that I've worked with, are pretty cool. Tell them, just explain to them the reasons why you have these things in your estimate, and they may consider it. It's kind of tough to negotiate with them and try to get more things, but that's okay. That's what you're a professional for. And go through it, sit down with them and go through line item by line item and explain to them why you actually put these things. And I promise you're going to get to at least a number that's very close to what you're looking for, like we ultimately did. So it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. Definitely one of our largest claims that we've handled at Elite Resolutions, and it was all well worth the time. Happy clients. It turned out really, really nice, and it worked out a lot. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys got that nice little story about one of our largest claims, which happened to be a flood claim, which is very unique, and everything worked out okay. So that's what we got. Guys, I want you to, if you're interested in working for us at all, or if you want to become one of our adjusters or admins or desk adjusters, we're continuing to grow. Go on eliteresolutions.com and you can go ahead and fill out an application there, submit a resume, and complete 2 assessments. Also, if you're interested in any of our educational material, we've got commercialclaimsadvocate.com. You can purchase this book. You can purchase our course that we've got for a fraction of the cost that we normally sell it for. And you can check out when our events are. We just had an event in Miami that was phenomenal. That's going to be our yearly event, so stay tuned. It's going to be the Friday before Thanksgiving of 2023. We're going to be doing our big event in Miami again, but we'll be doing meetups throughout the country this year as well. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon, and follow me on social media on Instagram, TikTok, Commercial Claims Advocate, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. That's what we got, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for next week's show where we talk about, I don't know. We'll see. It's a surprise. See you later.